Move on to OTAs. Starting back up on Wednesday. Went last week, and I didn't understand what the big story of OTAs would be, but I think it's pretty clear that it's Christian McCaffrey. And he's a little bit of a Rorschach test because he's coming back from injury. He's 29 years old, and everyone's question is he back? And it's hard to answer that question because we don't have GPS tracking systems. And what does back look like? It's all very subjective. I watched and I thought, no, he's not back. Barrows watched and thought, yes, he absolutely is back. So we got a wide range of opinions here. We're going to see another day on Wednesday. What are you looking for from Christian? How do we determine whether he's quote unquote back?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? Because, okay, so the word I used, because I watched it and then did a little recap for the YouTube audience, and the word I used was bouncy and explosive. I thought he bounced around the field and looked kind of explosive. Then I heard Lynch the next day on KMBR use those exact two words, bouncy and explosive, and I thought, well, either he listened to me or we both think alike. I hear what you're saying about that extra gear, but he also, to me, looked faster than I remembered him last year at any point. So, and it is May. So I personally, I think that I had two feelings about it. One, I thought he looked good. I thought he looked really good and really bouncy, really athletic for what we were seeing. It's the off season. I thought he looked really explosive. But my concern is still, I still have a lot of concerns about him because he is a guy coming off of Achilles tendonitis in both legs and a PCL injury. The PCL injury, I would imagine, was surgically repaired, but the tendonitis, didn't that just go away because he didn't play football? And isn't it just going to return as soon as he starts playing football?
Does it ever go away?
Yeah, I mean, does it ever go away? And are you really going to put all your eggs in the basket of a guy who had double Achilles that, last year was quite serious and now is quieted down? I don't know. It seems to me like if you told me that 3 weeks from the start of camp, all of a sudden he's having Achilles issues in both legs again, I wouldn't be shocked at all. I'd be like, oh, okay, it makes perfect sense. So I thought he looked bouncy and explosive, but I also don't know how much you can really bank on him.
The thing about McCaffrey, which I admire, the way he practices hard. He did that in 2023 when we first saw him. It was his first training camp, and he did it the other day. He wasn't out there for OTAs in 2024, and he didn't practice much in training camp either. But he gives it like 100%. I thought he ran a Texas route in 7-on-7s, maybe it was 11-on-11s. That was just nasty. So I do feel like maybe he still has some quickness and he can still be a guy who catches 60, 70 passes in a season. But what I'm looking for is, they always finish their runs downfield because you're not getting tackled. You might get tagged, but you finish your run. You can see how Isaac Guerrero opens up his stride. That's a guy with 4.3 speed and it's effortless and he's cruising. And we've seen Christian McCaffrey in the same scenarios any number of times in his prime. And he wasn't as fast as Isaac Guerrero, but he did have a top gear that was way beyond Frank Gore and most running backs we've seen around here. And that's what I just want to see from him, like an effortlessness where he can snap his legs. And I felt in this last practice, maybe I'm overseeing things as a guy who ran track for 1 year, it looked like he was really straining to get a knee drive, to get himself to that last gear. And it just wasn't there. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I saw from my, non-expert view. Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use promo code Cohn, C-O-H-N, and download the app now.
It's hard because we're getting glimpses, but I mean, I saw a guy that seemed like he was kind of bouncing along and moving pretty good.
I know what you mean. I saw that too.
It was kind of, so bouncy was the word I wanted to use when I saw him.
I like
but
that.
Also, I just thought he looked faster than I remember him last year.
But
I will say this, beyond McCaffrey at that running back spot, I didn't see Corey Kiner in this last practice. I didn't see Abanaconda if he was there. Only guys I saw were Patrick Taylor and McCaffrey and Guerrero and Juice. I don't remember seeing Jordan James much in this last practice. But I thought, to me, the guys that really opened my eyes, I was expecting with no Debo and with Ayuk out, not practicing, that the Niners would look really muted athletically. But to me, Garendo, Cowing, and Watkins all made the 49ers look really more athletic than I anticipated them looking. Cowing especially I thought it looked fantastic, but I think Garendo looked fantastic. I mean, you're talking about a big guy who can really, really motor. And the one thing he showed last year is he can catch the heck out of the football.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they're going to use him. But, man, I think Garendo, I think he could be a bust-out player, not just like a bust-out Niner. I think he could be a bust-out player around the NFL where people are talking about him. Because there aren't too many guys, Grant, that are 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", close to 230 pounds that run in the legit 4.3s. And if anything, I thought he looked even faster this year than last year. I think Garendo, Cowing, and Watkins are the three guys to really circle, highlight, watch for how they utilize these guys, because the Niners have been slow. I mean, the Niners have been a really slow football team that has leaned on a lot of really slow players. Cowing never made any impact last year. Garendo only a slight impact, and Watkins wasn't on the team. This year, I think all three of those guys are going to contribute mightily. So I think that changes their look. You had three guys who can touch the football that all run in the 4.3s. You're going to notice the difference.
And that's so interesting too. Like, we'll find out where Christian McCaffrey's explosiveness is, because I think of like explosiveness for a running back sort of like as power for a hitter in baseball. And when McCaffrey was in his prime, he was a power hitter. He had home run power. If he doesn't anymore, his backup definitely does. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on McCaffrey to show that, because I saw the same thing. Garendo looked better than he did last year. He looked like he's in better shape. He looked more confident. He looked faster. And if he can just stay healthy, he could have a Raheem Mostert type of season, which means he could be, a freaking game changer for the 49ers. Yes. Get started at factormeals.com/Cohn50off and use code Cohn50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
Well, two things to think about too is that without, I would say without Debo and without Ayuk, who's not going to play for probably the first half of the year, I mean, the 49ers might be tempted to try to throw the ball to McCaffrey and throw the ball to Garendo. Garendo's running back instincts are horrible, but man, he caught 15 of 16 passes thrown his way last year. McCaffrey's tackle breaking and durability, I think, as a runner is more in question than if you could flex him out and use him as a receiver. So, McCaffrey is maybe screaming for more touches as a receiver. Garendo definitely you can throw the ball to him. So I'm eager to see, like, do we see a lot of Jordan James and the other backup running backs and maybe a little Garendo and McCaffrey flexed out and as receivers? Or do they, do we still see McCaffrey run the ball? Do they use Garendo more as a running back? And, let the Pearsalls, Jennings, Watkins, Cowing, Demarcus Robinson, let those guys all play receiver. I mean, the Niners have used McCaffrey as a receiver hardly at all. Hardly at all.
Yeah, and the thing that's interesting about Garendo as a receiver and like the running backs as receivers, it's like the way they pair with Purdy. Not to take like a backhanded compliment at Purdy or shot, but it's like we know his limitations, and we don't really see him throw the deep fades very often. He's hit some. When he throws deep, it's often the post over the middle or the wide receivers, the running backs on the rail route, on the wheel route. We saw him hit McCaffrey a couple of times late last season, and Garendo too. So I think that's a great way for Purdy to push the ball down the field. Throw the ball to your running back who runs a freaking 4.3. He's going to be wide open. There's no linebacker who can run with Garendo. It worked. That should be a bigger part of the offense next year. It'll help expand the field for Brock.
No question. And when I watched all of the Jordan Watkins highlights from Jackson Dart and his days at Mississippi, almost every pass it seemed like that I saw that Dart threw Watkins, he was running down the field. So, I mean, I think that's going to be interesting. Can the 49ers, a lot of their routes, it seems like, are coming back to the ball. And, this guy is a big play guy, but he's a big play guy. You have to get him the ball while he's running down the field. We'll see if Purdy can do that this year.